and a hearty welcome to our drive-in theater. We have a wonderful evening's entertainment lined up for you, one that will provide several hours of pleasurable relaxation and diversion for you and your family.
It's only an hour show, so it's not going to be several hours. I thought that'd be kind of
Brilliant.
fun. I thought it'd be kind of fun to start out with something like that.
That's brilliant.
Yeah, I love that. So welcome everybody. It's midnight. It is mid. I should have put some. I'll get kicked off. I should have put on some midnight music from out midnight. The song Midnight. That would have been kind of a. And I could have just put in the clip. It's midnight. So everybody that's with us, thanks for joining us. We're going to have fun watching this documentary. It is a really good one. It's hosted. His narrations by June, and it's been years since I watched it, so I'm excited about doing this. So we're gonna midnight here. So it's actually Friday here now, but Thursday in the west of me. So just obviously everybody would have gotten a notification, but and thank everybody who joined us today earlier for our book review and kind of a go off session. So Steam's gone, and we're just gonna we're moving on, but we appreciate everybody supporting us. It was actually a pretty successful event with the book review. I'm really starting to get into all the information even deeper. Uh, excuse me. So anyway, June, Juanico, and Elvis, 1956. Let's just let's just get into it. Rick and Cam, Purple. Friday, Australian time, 2 p.m. Yeah, good for you. You can eat lunch now instead of a midnight snack.
Yeah, I think purple greens only, but grateful is a decent hour now.
Now, so what I did is I loaded this video up to YouTube to get a copyright claim review to see if anything is copyrighted. And there was only one little 160-second clip where the background song was somebody playing it sounded like they were playing Amazing Grace on trash can lids, but it didn't sound like. But anyway, I didn't want to get kicked off because of that, so I took that section out and I took out the background music, the Amazing Grace, and then I edited it back in. So during that part, you're only going to hear a really small clip of that Amazing Grace thing, but the rest of it, the background. So it'll be kind of quiet during that 60 seconds. Other than that, so it's no copyright. So I thought, well, this would be a good one to go with. So here we go. I think.
He was just the best looking thing I had ever seen in my life. He reached through the crowd and grabbed me by the arm. So he wanted to know, where did I learn how to kiss? I said, I think I'm learning right here from you.
What? That music didn't get copyright claimed, right? Must be just original to this movie. If we get kicked off on this, we'll come up with a plan.
When I first met Elvis was in the 8th grade. It was Christmas time, and he asked the teacher, the music teacher, if he could bring his guitar to class and sing, and she said, sure. He got up and sang, and I couldn't believe it because that wasn't the thing to do at that time. In high school, Elvis was kind of a shy guy, but the thing that really made Elvis stand out is the way he dressed.
His pants and his jackets, they're all kinds of different colors.
It was either black pants with white strap,
Or maybe a black pair of pants with a pink stripe down the side.
or pink slacks with black.
A sport coat with maybe trimmed in white with the collar turned up.
For sure, he had on a kind of see-through lace shirt with his hair all slicked back.
That must be not too long before he died, because look how thin he looks. Scotty Moore.
That's Scotty, yeah.
Yeah, I'm talking about Scotty Moore.
You couldn't miss him.
Well, on the streets, out in public, I like real conservative clothes. Something that's not too flashy. But on stage, I like them as fast as you can get them. Because on stage, your clothes play a very important part.
Wherever Elvis went, there were riots. Young girls were trying to tear him to pieces.
It was out front, in front of the stage, where all the chaos was. Elvis would create it by his movements on stage and his interplay with the audience and all.
By 1955, a 20-year-old singer named Elvis Presley is hot in the Deep South. Elvis and his backup band played countless one-nighters, promoting their regional hits in places like Abilene, Texas, Leachville, Arkansas, and the Shreveport, Louisiana hayride.
They were splitting the money. Scotty, Bill, and Elvis. He was getting 50, and they were splitting 50, which was 25 apiece. They were booking like $100 a day, $150 a day. Well, then they had to pay me and the car expenditures and the hotels, and all that out of theirs. And we were driving all over to get that little money.
It's good. The people like it. As far as rock and roll goes, I really like it. I enjoy doing it, and the people that really accepted it, great, and it just makes me want to knock myself out to keep giving them something to enjoy.
On June 27th, Elvis arrives in the Gulf Coast city of Biloxi, Mississippi for 3 performances. In the audience the first night is 17-year-old Glenda Manduffy. The next day, Glenda calls her best friend June Juanico. Glenda is going to see Elvis again, and she wants June to come with her.
I didn't even know who Elvis Presley was. And she called me and he was appearing at the Airmen's Club at Keesler Air Force Base in Biloxi. So she called. I already had a date. She said, I'll help cancel your date. He was just the best looking thing I had ever seen in my life. He really was. And so he took a break from playing. He only knew about, 7 or 8 songs. Glenda, my girlfriend, said, let's go over and talk to him. And I said, no, you can go over and talk to him if you want to, Glenda. I'm not going to go talk to him. And she said, well, let's go to the ladies' room. And so we had to pass right by Elvis. And she said, on the way back, let's stop and talk to him. And I don't know why I was playing hard to get or whatever, because we had made eye contact a few times while he was singing. And as we were passing by, he reached through the crowd and grabbed me by the arm. And he said, where are you going? You're not leaving, are you? And I said, no, I'm going back to my table. And I was really nervous then. He said, well, when I get through playing, how about you stick around for a little while and show me the town? And I said, Biloxi's a real small town. There's nothing to see in Biloxi. And he says, well, show me what there is. We're both looking out at the water and the moon. And he's kissing me on the back of my neck. And then he turned me to face him, and he said, why are you trembling? Silly question. I was trembling with excitement, you know. And I didn't even kiss anyone on the first date. But he was a marvelous kisser. Elvis had real soft, full lips.
June gets home at dawn after a night of kissing and talking. She's never been out that late before. As she falls asleep, she wonders if she'll ever see Elvis Presley again. It's May 1956. June is working as a car hop and in a beauty salon. Her one night with Elvis is just a fading memory. She can't miss the fact, however, that the handsome singer she met at the airbase just a year before is now quite famous. He has the #1 record in the country and best-selling album. He's already made several network television appearances and even landed a movie deal. June and her friend Marie are on the way to Memphis for a vacation with 3 other girlfriends. When they arrive, Marie's first priority is to find Elvis's new house.
I wanted to go to Florida, she wanted to go to Memphis. I didn't really know that the reason she wanted to go to Memphis was because Elvis lived in Memphis. So as soon as we got to Memphis, we went to down in the area where Elvis used to buy his clothes at Lansky Brothers, I think is the name of the store. And Marie asked one of the salesmen there what was Elvis's address. He gave her directions, and he said, I'm sure Elvis wouldn't mind you going by to see his house because he's not in town.
Elvis had recently moved himself and his parents into their first real home in a middle-class Memphis neighborhood.
So we drove over to Audubon Drive, parked out in the front, and there was heavy-duty construction.
Oh, come on, Lily. That's the best part. It's actually a great video, very colorful and good, good quality. Purple green. Wow, in the boat. Sorry, hold on. So I'm having sore throats and all that. Cam's caught a bug. We're really on top of our game today, but we'll plug it through. All right, guys, back to Elvis and June.
Equipment parked in the backyard, and we figured he was having a pool put in, and we're still sitting in Marie's car. There's 5 of us girls that went, and we're debating on what kind of swimming pool he's going to have put in, guitar-shaped, whatever, So I said, well, I'm going to go take a look. So I got out, the rest of the girls followed, and we're up just, bigger than life, trespassing on Elvis's property, and I jumped up and was looking over the fence top like this, looking at the pool, and it's a square pool, and the pink Cadillac drives in the driveway, and it was Elvis and his mother and father. Elvis's cousin had drowned, and Elvis was called home for the funeral. And he walks straight up to the fence and picks me up by the waist and puts me on the ground. He said, "What are you doing here, June?" And I said, "I'm on vacation with the girls, And he had tried to call me when he came back to Biloxi, and I was never home. He wanted to know where we were going and did we have any plans, and we told him that we were going to see a movie that night. And my friend had a hot pink Ford Fairlane car. You couldn't miss it. Mm-hmm. He found the hot pink car, parked at the theater, and came on in and sat next to me and held my hand throughout the movie. And I thought that was really sweet,
Elvis asks June to go for a motorcycle ride the next morning.
My first motorcycle ride with Elvis was on Mud Island. And he took me there so he could open up the bike. He said, "Pull your hat down real tight so it don't blow off," and we were just really moving out. And I was just beside myself with excitement. Where'd you go? More so than fear. And when we stopped, he was breathing heavy with fear as opposed to excitement, When I think about it now, that was an insane thing to do, just totally insane.
June sees Elvis every day that week. They quickly discover they love each other's company. At the fairgrounds, Elvis wins a giant panda bear for June, which she promptly names Pelvis. He shows her around Memphis. They swing past Sun Records, the Memphis courts where his family once lived.
That might be questionable.
And Humes High. They visit Dewey Phillips, the first DJ to play Elvis on the radio. Elvis brings June home to meet his parents. They listen to blues records. Gladys Presley shows June how Elvis likes his fried chicken prepared. Elvis gets a long-distance call and asks June if she'd like to fly to Houston with him to pick up his new Cadillac. Gladys asks June how old she is. She doesn't want her son traveling with an underage girl. 18, June replies. It's June's first airplane ride. It's also her...
Gladys really liked June, too, didn't she? Wasn't she liked her a lot?
Yeah.
That's what I always heard. Her and Anita Wood, I think she really liked.
Her first night away from home with a boyfriend. Although booked in separate hotel rooms, they sleep in each other's arms.
There was something about being with Elvis. I just trusted him that he would never do anything to hurt me or anything.
Oh, thanks, Lily.
The next day, Elvis and June drive the new Eldorado back to Memphis, top down.
After 7 days of being in Memphis, we drove back to Biloxi. The city of Biloxi knew that I had this long date in Memphis with Elvis. The daily newspaper, the Daily Herald, did an interview with me after we went to Memphis. Total strangers wanted to rip my eyes out. You think you're really something, and you're not. you know, you're trash and all this kind of stuff. But you just overlook stuff like that. Elvis had said that he had a vacation coming up and he was going to come and spend it in Biloxi. And so sure enough, the first part of June, Elvis arrived in Biloxi. We had stayed in touch by phone, and I didn't really know when he was coming in. And he told my mother, he said, well, tell June I'm sorry I missed her, but I'm...
Red West really looked like a bruiser of a guy back in those days. Even older. Just one, he looked like almost like a thug. I guess somewhere along the line he turned out to be, huh?
Yeah.
Oops.
On my way to Florida, where I can get some peace and quiet. So me and my girlfriend jump in her car, parked on a hillside that we could see all the traffic leaving Biloxi, so I could stop him. We sat there for a good 2 hours, no sign of Elvis. So when I went back home again, my mother is just frantic. She said, Elvis has called here half a dozen times, wanting to know where you are. And I said, well, I've been trying to stop him from leaving town.
Elvis tells the press he's heading for Florida, but his plan is to stay in Biloxi and spend time with June. Still, he can't get away from fans or reporters. That evening, Elvis and June are reunited at Coco's restaurant. Over dinner, Elvis relates his dilemma to June's mother's boyfriend, Eddie Bellman.
Well, when I first met him, he had to leave the motel down here in Biloxi because of the fact that people found out he was there, and they kept coming by and banging on his door and everything.
He was registered at the Sun and Sand Hotel under the name of Arthur Hooten, one of his buddies' names. That's a real name, Arthur Hooten.
Rarely traveling alone, Elvis has come to Biloxi with Arthur, whose mother once worked with Elvis's mom. Red West, who it's said became Elvis's friend because he once stopped high school football players from giving Elvis a haircut in the locker room. And Elvis's cousin Gene Smith, who seems to just go where Elvis goes.
So I said, Elvis, I got a couple of houses, and I said, I can let you have one of them. If you and your friends want to stay there, you can come to the house and stay. I said, it's already furnished and all. And he said, I think that would be nice. And I took him in my car so people wouldn't recognize that Cadillac of his.
Meanwhile, the press and the general public and everyone had figured out that he was there.
The first thing you know, the crowd was all around the house, aggravating him. Come on out, Elvis, and give us your signature. Come on out and sing for us.
He had no privacy there.
He was trying to get a little rest and take a nap, and he just couldn't. So he said, Eddie, he said, I guess I'm going to have to go somewhere else.
He rented a family-owned house, the Hack, H-A-C-K. So he leased the house for the summer, the Hack House.
The luxury home is located a few miles outside of Biloxi in an upscale resort complex known as the Gulf Hills Dude Ranch.
The reason Elvis had so much privacy in Gulf Hills was because it was so easy to get lost, and his house was out of the way. And that's where we would come and go from. Well, the rest of June and July.
On July 1st, 1956, Elvis appears live on The Steve Allen Show. On the 4th, his concert in Memphis draws 13,000. The following Monday,
You know, that's a big attendance for that time in history.
Mm-hmm.
What did he say, 14, 15,000? My God, that's a lot of people, you know. I mean, he was filling the arenas in the 70s, but, you know, you're in Biloxi. Well, are they going to be, you know, how big of arenas do they have down there at that time? Because Biloxi wasn't a very big town at that time. It's been years since I've been, but anyway.
Elvis is back in Biloxi, looking forward to spending a 3-week vacation with June. At Gulf Hills, Elvis and his entourage are away from fans and the press. June asks her friends Pat and Buddy, both crazy about Elvis, to join the group. In the evening, they all sing songs in the hotel lounge. They smoke tiny cigars and use them to set off fireworks at the resort's golf course. This results in a polite letter from the hotel manager pointing out it would be safer to explode fireworks on the beach. Despite Elvis and June's seclusion at Gulf Hills, the word gets out. Newspapers and magazines from all over the country are calling for an interview with Elvis's teenage girlfriend.
The most asked question that I've ever been asked was Elvis a good kisser? And the second most asked question was, did you go to bed with him? I didn't answer that one.
When a New Orleans radio station broadcasts news of Elvis's engagement to June, Elvis fears his manager, Colonel Tom Parker, might hear the story.
The colonel would always kind of say, Elvis, you know, be careful because, you know, those girls may drop you if you get involved or you get married or something.
Elvis accepted Colonel's advice, which was very wise of Elvis.
You know, I hate to say it, but he's right. You know, if he got married at that time, you'd have a whole slew of the girls that were like, well, you'd have one half saying, no, he's married. No, I can't. I'll never have a chance. The other one saying, I don't give a shit if he's married.
Yeah.
Colonel Parker really created Elvis. When you say what was his role was to create an Elvis Presley. For one thing, he was a fantastic businessman. And he always used to say, I have only one artist, and that one artist is Elvis.
Elvis and June race 90 miles to the Louisiana radio station. He tells listeners he's serious about his career and not about to wed.
When I'm going to approach you with the question of when you do get married, what kind of a girl do you want? A blonde, a brunette, or a redhead? I haven't got a dream girl in my mind right now, you know.
Although Elvis is playing it cool, June's mother still has a good feeling about the young star.
Yeah, thanks, Lily.
I liked him right off the start. I liked Elvis because he wasn't loud. He didn't use any foul language, and he was just a fine, well-cut man.
June's mother's boyfriend, Eddie Bellman, feels the same way.
Eddie had not really kept up with Elvis's career or anything like that. He liked him as a young man because he respected his mother and father. Everything he said was yes, sir, and no, ma'am, and thank you, and please. And he was just a real Southern gentleman. And Eddie admired that, so he thought he would arrange a deep-sea fishing trip. He had a friend that had a charter boat.
Here comes the boat.
That was the first trip he'd ever been on as far as deep-sea fishing or any kind of fishing. So Elvis enjoyed it so much. On the way back to Biloxi, Elvis asked if I could arrange to get the boat again because he wanted to invite his mother and father down to go with us.
He called them long distance. We were all in the room with him. And he said, I want y'all to come down Saturday morning and go fishing.
Thanks, Lily.
His mother and father came down the next day, and I met him.
We met the mother and the daddy, Mr. and Miss Presley, on a Friday night. And they didn't know how to get to Gulf Hills. I said, I'm June's mother. This is Mr. Bellman, and y'all follow us, and we'll take you to Elvis. Who else has a pink Cadillac but the Presleys?
It's Friday the 13th, the day RCA releases Hound Dog and Don't Be Cruel. By the end of
Yeah, I'm a little slow tonight, Lily. I just caught on to that you were... I don't know, you were the one that made that comment about the boat because I couldn't remember at the time. And I saw your post. I went back on the screen and I saw the LOL. I go, well, she suckered me into that one. I like that, Lily. Thanks for the laugh.
This is
Didn't see that one coming.
Yeah, I know.
Vacation in Biloxi.
Right,
the record will sell 1 million copies.
The following day, we went fishing again. And his mother and father fished, Elvis fished, all his friends fished, June fished, everybody fished. I didn't fish, I was busy taking film, taking footage with my little 8mm camera. I asked Elvis, would he mind? He said, no, you take all you want.
Elvis was reeling in sharks and everything else, you know, and it was something new to him.
We just killed a fish that day, just had them strung up like you just wouldn't believe. I think Mrs. Presley brought a jar of peanut butter. She brought bananas too. Somehow during the day, she managed to make him a peanut butter and banana sandwich, which we all came to call an Elvis Presley sandwich.
I would say Mother probably always had that in her bag.
Yeah.
Wherever they were, he's going to get his peanut butter bananas.
His mother was looking after Elvis like he was a young child, and she was bringing him peanut butter sandwiches while he was fishing. And she was handing it to him and feeding him while he was fishing, and that's a fact. It's on the film. All that's on the film.
Before he started eating, she was holding it for him to take bites. Evidently, she wasn't feeding him fast enough or something, so he took it and was eating it. Fishy hands and everything.
Did you see him shoveling that sandwich into his mouth?
Yeah, they actually just dispelled something because in another documentary I saw a couple of years ago, they said the peanut butter and banana sandwich came from a place in where was it? Somewhere down somewhere, and they apparently had to fly there to go and get this new peanut butter and banana sandwich. And she's just proven it now that actually was his mama that gave him peanut butter and banana sandwich.
Yeah. I love peanut butter. I just can't eat it anymore because of my diet. But peanut butter and jelly, peanut butter and mayonnaise, peanut butter and banana, peanut butter. I've had them all, and I haven't found one yet that I didn't like. Thank you.
Peanut butter and Cheerios?
Well, no, I'm no. Cam makes fun of my Cheerios. I put my Cheerios on everything. Instead of milk, I use iced coffee. And just like he's like, I can see him shaking his head all the way from here to South Africa. He just
thing.
I brought a bunch of
it's that Southern boy stuff, man.
German officers' caps.
It's good.
Back from Germany with me during World War II, and I gave them to Elvis and all his friends.
And Eddie, knowing that we should have had hats on to be out in the hot sun that length of time, brought those hats for us to put on to fish to keep the sun out of our faces.
They put on the caps and they started singing on the boat here. I think they sang Hound Dog and Don't Be Cruel, and that's two I remember.
That stick is a boom on top of the boat, and it looked like a giant microphone. He was just standing up there, and he saw this big thing, and he went behind it and started.
He doesn't quite fit the bill in that shirt and those shorts.
No, he's like real scrawny.
I know. I'm looking at this and go,
No wonder they
moves to that stuff.
No wonder they called him a squirrel.
Of course, the ladies are going to pound us over it because he's wearing shorts. I just, anyways.
Pretending he was singing to this tall microphone, and it wasn't. It was just the boom. It was funny. That was just funny.
Elvis and June don't care much about their lack of privacy. Could life get any better?
I see that. I hated his swimsuit. Actually, when you look at it, it looks like it was an afterthought, like he forgot to bring his swimsuit, and his mother, while he was on the boat, pulled off one of the masks and made a pair of shorts out of him. Oh, that's true, Deb. It does. It's straight shirt. Thanks, C-Cat.
Before we got back into Biloxi, a boat approaches us, and we're on our way in. So our captain slows for this boat to come alongside, and two reporters jump on the boat. So this kind of ticked Elvis off pretty good. So in the film footage, you will see that Elvis is sitting up on the bow of the boat. I reach over and adjust his belt because his name is crooked on it. But the reason we were up on the front of the boat is because Elvis had put a friend here on this walkway area, another friend on this walkway area, to block the reporters from getting to him.
As the boat nears land, hundreds of fans and press are waiting at the marina. The captain decides he better dock further downshore, but not before a photographer captures this portrait of the weary fishing party.
Two years after his first hit. He's on a boat. He can't even go fishing without being bothered.
Yeah.
2 years earlier, he could have fished anywhere he wanted. You know. Wow.
Sure.
I think at that time he was kind of enjoying.
I asked Elvis, would he mind making a 5-minute appearance at my shoe department? I had a ladies' shoe department and a ladies' wear store. I had a leased shoe department. And he said, sure, Eddie, I'll be glad to come by. So people started pouring in down here from all directions. They had the whole police department out there directing traffic, and they had to let them in shifts. And they liked to tore the man's store up, but he didn't mind that. He got so much good publicity, he didn't mind that at all. The man that owned the store that I leased the department from, he said, let's give Elvis a present. I said, that's not necessary. I said, he's doing this because I took him on a couple of fishing trips. And I said, he's not expecting it. He said, let's give him something anyway. I said, well, if you want to give him something, I said, let's give him a shotgun. So I went up to a sporting goods store. I got a 410 gauge Winchester pump. Fine little gun. And we presented that to Elvis, and boy, he was just as happy as a child eating ice cream, you know. I brought some skeet targets out to Gulf Hills, and he did pretty good.
I like this documentary because it's got a lot of really cool home movies in it, and they're so clear, and the fact that they're in color makes it even better.
He missed a few, but he hit a little more than he missed. And he let his friends shoot and all that, and we just had a ball. Somebody brought a BB gun up there, and everybody started shooting the BB gun, and he held a cigarette paper in his hand like that to let somebody with the BB gun to shoot the paper out of his hand. He did, that's a fact. And luckily the guy didn't hit his thumb.
The days drift by lazily at Gulf Hills. Elvis and June are happy together. They have all the time in the world, it seems, to be with one another. Elvis loves being with this small-town girl and looks for ways to show it. One day, he commissions the famous Gulf Coast artist, Harry Reeks, to do a portrait of each of them.
Cool.
And Elvis was not too pleased with it and said that it didn't do me justice. And Mr. Reeks, he was such a sweet gentleman, he said, well, it's hard to capture that much beauty. But Elvis patiently sat for this one for about a good 45 minutes. He had gotten in a big box of souvenirs that Colonel Parker used to peddle, and he reached in and took out this pink scarf and draped it around my neck and pretended to be strangling me with it.
With Elvis and June caught up in such simple pleasures, who would suspect Elvis Presley is on the verge of becoming the most famous entertainer in the world?
He was really and truly a young boy. He had a serious side to his nature. I think he took his art seriously, but he didn't take himself seriously.
He liked fun, and he liked good times, and he liked people. He just liked to rock and roll. You know, it don't take long to get sunburned out here if you're not accustomed to it.
Really?
And if you're fair-skinned like he was sort of fair-skinned. He had a shirt on and a life jacket because of that, because he had gotten sunburned.
While Elvis water skis, June gets a skiing lesson. When Elvis doesn't see her watching him, he becomes irritated.
He was very jealous, very possessive. He wanted me...
While he's sitting there kissing two girls in front of her. He was very possessive.
Right next to him at all times. We never did really fight. Never did. And if we did have an argument or a disagreement, Elvis would take me away from the crew of friends in someplace private and apologize. The Hack House, the house that he rented for the summer, had a big front lawn that was kind of like a sloping hillside with nice clean cut grass and everything. We were laying out under the stars, and we had taken a sheet from the bed or blanket and laid it out, and passionate kisses. And he said, I can't get married right away. I promised the Colonel I'd wait at least 3 years. And he said, will you wait 3 years for me, June? And I said, sure, I'll wait.
Anxious to spend more time with his parents while on vacation, Elvis drives them to New Orleans. June sits in the back with Elvis's mom.
Elvis went unrecognized. He had on a silly little hat and sunglasses, and this one little teenage girl tapped him on the shoulder, and he thought, oh, goodness. And he turned around, and she said, Mister, will you take a picture of us? And the girls lined up in a line, and Elvis snapped their picture for them.
That's cool.
Gladys says she's never seen Elvis taken with a girl as much as June. She kids Elvis that he better not let Colonel Parker know just how much. Too shy to call Mrs. Presley.
You guys got to quit talking about the desserts. I'm going diabetic shock right now, and I'm not even diabetic.
Yeah, no, and I know those Reese's peanut butter bars, they're really good, man. I only got introduced to them about a year ago, unfortunately. But they are good.
Purple green, pineapple coconut muffin. Oh, God, that sounds good. Rice
Really?
cake. Yeah.
You guys are just evil.
Gladys, June calls her Lovey, from her middle name Love. Gladys affectionately calls June Satnin.
Mrs. Presley was admiring the houses. Mr. Presley would rather just watch where he's going than look at anything. She was saying, wouldn't that be wonderful to live in a place like that? And ended up, 6 months later, Elvis buys Graceland that looked like one of the homes on the beach, like some of those antebellum homes.
There's a lot of those in Mississippi, Atlanta.
We were passing the cemetery, and she said, that's the prettiest cemetery I've ever seen in my life. Stop and take a ride around and go, this was the cemetery in Metairie. She told Elvis that she said she would like to be, not to be put in the ground, she would like to be put in a tomb like that one of these days. And he just said, it's time to go get back in the car. We're not going to talk about this. We're not even going to be here.
Sure.
Elvis loved his mother dearly. A lot of Southern guys are like that. When I first went on the road with Elvis, she would tell me, she would say, George, now, you look after my son, and you make sure that he calls home and talks to me, and remind him to call me every night.
When he first started, it gave him tremendous pleasure to get her everything that was beautiful. He was very close and very devoted to his mother because she believed in him.
It was the most tragic thing in his life when Gladys passed away.
He wasn't the same after that.
In the middle of his Biloxi vacation, Elvis returns to Memphis saying he has business to take care of. June wonders if it's to see Barbara Hearn, his much-publicized other girlfriend. She doesn't ask. Exhausted, June catches up on sleep. A few days later, Elvis is back, knocking on her door.
Elvis spent quite a bit of time at June's mother's house there, you know. When he wasn't over at Gulf Hills, he'd be there.
Well, I remember him coming here one day, and a lady called on the phone, and she had a little girl that had leukemia. And the little girl was crazy about Elvis.
And she wanted to know if she could bring her by and let Elvis talk to her.
And I asked him, and he said, sure, come, tell her to come on up.
I'll be glad to see her and talk with her.
They came on in the house and met Elvis, and he said, we don't want to be disturbed, and we don't want to be bothered with anybody, because that's mine and Carol's time. And she was thrilled that he spent that much time with her, and it wasn't but about maybe a month or so that she had passed away. But she had got her wish to, you know, to be with Elvis.
I didn't know.
I had received a copy of The Prophet for a graduation gift. And I had gotten so much out of this book. When you read this, it gives you a different way to look at different things. One night when he brought me home from Gulf Hills, say 1 a.m., because it was usually a.m., sometimes as late as 6 a.m. when I'd finally get in. And I ran inside and got him a copy of my copy of The Prophet. And I said, read this. So he just took it from me without saying anything. And when he came back to my house, he had read most of the prophet. And it brought a calm over him that was just unbelievable.
We discussed this in the Sunday reviews from last train. Yeah.
I think, it goes to show maybe besides that certain books really did have a resonation with him, but maybe in a way it was his way of trying to recapture pivotal moments in his past before life became too hectic for him.
Yeah, they nickname him the searcher, and when I think of somebody who's a searcher, they never find what they're looking for. They just keep
No.
searching everything. They find some answers, but they don't ever find the final answers. That's my synopsis or my explanation or definition of a searcher. That's
I
it
think
never stops.
I think he suffered with something that everybody suffers with, but for him it was magnified because we all hear and we all wonder why we're here and what our
Yeah.
purpose is and why us. But I think for him it was a million times worse
Mm.
because his whole life was under a magnifying glass.
Yeah. Now I've got the book. I've never read it, so I should.
Was that a prophet?
Yeah, I should read
Oh,
it.
you should listen to it with that audio CD I sent you.
Yeah.
Something crazy.
I'll do that. In fact, I saw it today when I was putting together the documentary today because I had to edit out a little bit of background music so I wouldn't get bumped off. All right, let's get back to it.
And he said, I love the book. I love the book. Can I keep it? And I said, it's yours. So come to find out,
It was.
he kept it, a copy, not necessarily my copy, but a copy of the prophet by his bedside throughout his entire life.
Sure.
Colonel Parker has booked Elvis on a 10-day Florida concert tour in early August. After that, Elvis is to begin filming his first motion picture, Love Me Tender, in Hollywood. Knowing that Elvis will be clear across country in just a few weeks, June begs her mother to let her go on the tour. It takes the persuading of both Elvis and Gladys Presley to convince June's mother to say yes. The night before they leave for Florida, Elvis and June stay together until morning in Elvis's bedroom at Gulf Hills. It's not for lack of desire that June stays a virgin.
It's funny because things were different than they are today. You had people with, there were only a few bad girls in the whole school, if you know what I'm talking about.
According to June, Elvis is often the one to stop short of going all the way. In an era where premarital sex is less accepted, June believes that Elvis expects to marry a virgin. To make June less conspicuous to Colonel Parker on the Florida trip, Elvis suggests she ride with her friends Pat and Buddy, who are also invited to go along. On tour, Elvis plays back-to-back concerts, all filled to standing room capacity. June, Pat, and Buddy watch Elvis from the wings. It's the first time June has seen Elvis perform.
Yeah, I just did a search, Leslie, when she asked that question. She's still around. She's 86 years old, be 87 this year. I'm just trying to find out where she's at now because I'd be kind of curious to know if she does. Probably not, but if she does some sort of appearances now and then. But Twilight, remember, I've got that book. I've never read the book though by her. But
Hey, you guys battling with midnight snacks because you all just got food and desserts and cakes and sandwiches and all the rest of it on your mind.
No,
Must be that time of the night, time for midnight snack.
It is. Lori brought me home a salad, and they're eating all that shit. Yeah, I looked into being able to do a watch party with the searcher, but it'll never let me go through. There's so many copyrights on that thing. I won't make it through the first few credits. I'd have to do it. I wouldn't be able to do it. I couldn't do it by video silent or audio on or anything. I couldn't do it. They would pound me like hamburger.
Oh my goodness, peanut butter and apple. No, thank you.
No, that's good, actually. I eat that.
Since the night they met. She can't help feeling jealous when she sees thousands of screaming girls competing for Elvis's attention. When June asks how he feels about the affection of so many females, he tells her they don't love me.
Yeah, I gotta check that out.
They love the idea of me. With the press and the colonel lurking in the hotel, June returns to her room each night. Elvis later sneaks down the hall to join her secretly. Much to Colonel Parker's irritation, the press quickly figures out that June is traveling with Elvis.
The colonel did not approve of girls in Elvis's room because he was afraid that they would do, that something would happen and it would be bad publicity.
I don't think it was so much that he didn't like June. He just didn't want Elvis to get involved with a lady that early in his career.
He gave me some pretty dirty looks from time to time. Colonel Parker, being the snake that he was, I just smiled.
And nobody really liked him, but you tolerate him, you know. He knew what he could get for Elvis.
The colonel is furious when he sees a feature article quoting June's mother saying Elvis will marry June in
He about swallowed his cigar.
3 years. He demands that Elvis do something immediately about the bad press. Elvis quickly concocts a story for the Miami Herald, saying he has not one, but 25 steady girlfriends. Elvis orders June to keep her mother quiet. He later apologizes, saying he feels he's losing control of his life. June wonders why Elvis won't just stand up to the colonel if he loves her so much.
He'd come to me, I mean, even early days, and say, Colonel wants me to do this, he wants me to, I don't want so-and-so. I said, well, tell him. You know, I said, sit down and tell him. And tell him why you don't want to. Oh, no, I made a deal with him. He's going to take care of this, and I'll take care of the singing.
Elvis is also agitated about other things.
He was upset because people were saying that he was a child of the devil, and, you know, and he was leading our children. He just wanted people to like him.
After the final show of the tour, June misses her ride and doesn't get back to Elvis's hotel suite for an hour. She finds him in bed in a cold sweat, still dressed. He's just awoken from a nightmare. He says he dreamed he saw himself in a coffin.
All right, thanks, Leslie.
His mother was standing over him crying. Elvis holds June close. She fears something bad is about to happen. On August 20th, Elvis Presley begins filming his first motion picture.
Elvis would go to the movie theater when he was young, and he would study the actors, how they acted on the screen and what they wore and the looks that they...
It's so cool that we just got through talking about all this stuff in the book review on Sunday.
...used. He was looking forward to it. He loved movies.
As much as Elvis loves the cinema, Hollywood turns out to be a different place than he expected. He misses June. He sends her telegrams and even invites her to California.
He was very intimidated. He was just a small-town country boy, and, you know, and Hollywood's a different city all on its own and everything, and a lot of people telling you exactly what to do, and he was so anxious to please. And Elvis's only real problem that he had out there was he wanted it to be a straight acting part with no songs. They did come up and with one song, and he agreed that he would sing the song, but it wouldn't show him singing it. It was going to be playing in the background with his voice. He would not be singing it on screen. And he said, but it's a nice song. He sang it to me over the phone, and that was, it used to be called Orally, and they changed it to Love Me Tender. He was pleased with the song. He was not pleased, however, when they decided to make him into a little stage performer in the movie.
It was just like Sinatra was. They found a niche in Hollywood, and he fit perfectly into that niche.
I think the main reason that he was so upset about singing was because he hated musicals. When we went to see The King and I in Biloxi, and Yul Brynner would turn to Deborah Kerr, and instead of saying, I love you, he would start singing, and Elvis would say, I can't stand it, you know, let's get the hell out of here. And so we walked out on The King and I. But he hated musicals, he really did.
Colonel Parker, he wasn't really artistic minded. He said all Hollywood is interested in is making money. And my boy, he called him Elvis, my boy, said, my boy's making a lot of money. That's why we're still making these pictures, and we're not going to change until this format runs out.
Co-starring with Elvis is the beautiful starlet, Deborah Paget.
Elvis thought Deborah Paget was one of the most gorgeous ladies that he'd ever met in his entire lifetime. He had a crush on her.
I think Elvis would have liked to gone out with Deborah Paget and captured her for his very own, but Deborah was off limits to Elvis, which I was grateful for.
She was seeing someone else at the time, so it never materialized.
Also starring in the movie is veteran actor.
Is she the one that was connected to Frank Sinatra? Somebody like that? I can't remember now. We'll find out eventually.
Richard Egan.
And I had just been crazy about Richard Egan, and he says, how much do you love Richard Egan? And I said, oh, about as much as you love Deborah Paget.
Elvis is meeting lots of people in Hollywood, including Nick Adams. The pushy young actor impresses Elvis because of his supporting role in the James Dean film, Rebel Without a Cause.
Yes, purple.
Nick introduces Elvis to Dean's co-star, Natalie Wood.
He thought Natalie Wood was a fun girl. She was probably the hottest young female actress in Hollywood at the time, and I think that was more of an infatuation with Elvis.
2 weeks into the filming of Love Me Tender, Elvis makes his first appearance on The Ed Sullivan Show.
Oh, that's
TV
right.
Guide marks the occasion by doing a cover story.
No.
June and her mother buy a television so they can watch. They are not alone. 82% of American households with a TV turned on that night see the broadcast.
Deb, my mother's favorite singer in the 50s was actually Ricky Nelson, and she named me. My legal name is Ricky. It's not Richard. It's none of that. She named me after Ricky Nelson. So I wound up being a huge Elvis fan. Well, I'm kind of glad she didn't name me Elvis, that's for sure. I would have not wanted to go through life with that chain around my neck, you know?
Elvis is proclaimed the king of rock and roll.
Oh.
When Love Me Tender wraps in mid-October, Elvis returns to Memphis, anxious to see his parents. He calls June and wires her money to fly up and stay with him. Back on Audubon Drive, June can see how much things have changed. Now large groups of fans constantly linger outside the Presleys' home, hoping to meet Elvis. He attracts huge crowds, even in Memphis, where he once felt less conspicuous. Elvis and June lie in bed talking for an hour. June asks him about stories in the press detailing romances with other women.
And when I questioned him about it, he said, don't believe anything you read in the paper.
Yeah.
Everything you read about me is for publicity purposes.
Longing for privacy, Elvis stays home. After days of feeling trapped, he and June slip out to a local Memphis theater to see newsreel footage of Elvis's Tupelo homecoming concert. When moviegoers realize Elvis is actually in the building, there is a riot. Surrounded by police, he barely escapes the theater, with June close behind.
Baby Ricky.
Elvis tells her that for the first time, he fears for his own life. Nick Adams arrives from Los Angeles. He talks openly in front of June about Natalie Wood's interest in Elvis. In fact, his advice is that Elvis should be seen with other girls. June wonders why Elvis ever invited him. Elvis says Nick more or less invited himself.
Yeah, Elvis said he was a lonely little guy. Be nice to him, June. But Nick even made a couple of passes at me. You know, and I said, you better keep your hands. If you want your hands, you better keep them to yourself.
Elvis and June ride out to Mud Island to talk. It doesn't seem like the same place it once was. Elvis is clearly distracted by all the new things going on in his life.
That almost doesn't even
June
look like
knows he
Elvis.
loves her, but wonders if she can ever get him back.
Elvis wanted me to go and have a studio portrait made. And so I agreed to go have a studio portrait made. And when I got in there, the photographer said, did you want one smiling and me and my silly wit? I said, well, I don't know, crying might be good, you know. And so we did. And
Wow.
Premonition of some sort, I don't know, for me to send Elvis a picture of me
Yeah,
crying.
Cheek cat, he looked 15.
Elvis entertains Natalie Wood in Memphis. June sees newspaper stories about Natalie's visit. A few days later, Elvis calls June. He tells her the colonel found out about her stay in Memphis. He says they will have to cool it for a while.
I can't totally blame Colonel Parker for wrecking our relationship, because Elvis could have said, I'm not interested, I'm not going to do it.
On November the 19th, fans are going wild buying tickets to see Love Me Tender. It's June's 19th birthday. She does not hear from Elvis. Elvis is dating a Las Vegas showgirl. The girl is spending the weekend on Audubon Drive.
It didn't really make me jealous. It broke my heart. Elvis didn't need me. He had worlds, you know, the whole world full of girls of his choice. But no, I was not going to take a back seat to anyone.
You know, I think we brought this up once before. But when you sit here, and with the exception of a few, all these relationships he had, in one form or another, understood his situation, and that he was a young male with millions of women throwing themselves and would do anything. And what did any of them expect to do? Of course, they expected him to be faithful, but when deep down inside, they knew he never could be, really. Not at that point in life, because he was, I'm sorry, and I don't think it's a negative on him, I know it's a negative with some people, but that just came with the territory of him, and he was the biggest name in the world, and so even though they're upset because it didn't pan out the way it did, and June and Barbara Hearn and a few others like that would have really been great ones for him if he had not been a big rock star with millions of women throwing their panties at him in concert. I think like that.
I think the other thing too, we must remember he was 21 years old too.
Yeah.
He was also trying to figure out who he was and where he wanted to go. And I mean, the kind of person that he was, I mean, he wasn't going to be the standoffish kind of guy and say, for argument's sake, person X wants to spend a couple of hours or days with him because it's publicity or whatever. He ain't gonna turn around and say, no, thank you, I'm going with person B or person C. We all know that he was more than happy to oblige people if they wanted to have a picture made with him or spend time with him, whatever. So I can kind of understand it must have been a difficult position for him to be in too, because I believe that there was substance to their relationship, and also because his career was still so new, he unfortunately was in the position where he had to eat her humble pie when it came to the colonel. So I think must have been a very difficult place for him to be.
Yeah. So and that's why I give props to the women after years after those relationships and after he was gone. Really, like I said, with the exception of a few people, I would say 80 to 90% of the women that he had any kind of relationship with never badmouthed them.
No.
The day after Christmas, the telephone rings. Elvis is calling to say happy holidays. June asks why she hasn't heard from him.
I don't know that he tried to call because I had no answer machine on my phone back then. He claims that he did try to call.
June's New Year's resolution is to forget about Elvis Presley. She knows that she isn't cut out for his world.
Sure.
On March 18th, 1957, June gets a telegram. Elvis wants her to meet him in New Orleans, where he'll be changing trains. He's heading back to Memphis, about to move into Graceland. June decides to go to the station. She has something she needs to tell him.
It was really hard, and I just, he kept saying, you got to come home with me, I got a surprise for you. Mama can't wait to see you, and you're going to stay on the train with me. He was just ranting on, and I said, I can't go with you, I'm engaged to be married. But now I'm telling Elvis Presley that I have met someone and I'm engaged to be married, and I hope it hurts him, I just blurted it out. I didn't know how else to tell him, and he just looked at me. So that's how we said goodbye.
I forgot about that.
The news of Elvis's death just devastated me. And my husband of 20 years left work and came home to be with me because he heard on the radio, and he knew that I knew already, and he left and came home to be with me. And when he walked in the door, I'm trying to straighten up my face and put a cold rag on my eyes because I didn't want him to see how bad this had affected me. And he just put his arms around me, and he said, "It's okay to cry, hon. I know how close you were to Elvis."
Hey, Kathleen. Yeah.
Now, when I look back on it, it's like a different lifetime because it has been so long ago. But I was a little stubborn, a little hard-headed, and I was not going to allow anyone to break my heart. And so it's probably a combination of me, Elvis, and Colonel Parker, that ended our relationship. But it was cherished memories.
Right at I thought that was pretty good.
I wonder if she ever saw Elvis again, even in concert.
Is that a repeat of what we just?
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. Some of my editing jobs have really sucked big time. One day when I don't know what song it was, but I accidentally had doubled up and almost tripled up some of the takes, and we kept hearing the same banter. I go, man, doesn't he have anything better to say than the same damn thing over and over again? And
Yeah, we were waiting for a whole lot of shaking, and it
oh,
kept going
yeah,
into muddy water.
yeah, dumbass. I loaded up muddy water instead of that. Hey, well, listen, everybody, this has been fun. I got more that I'm going to do. I'm going to do tests on the upload. We didn't have any glitches or nothing with this one, so that's pretty cool. But I got some other ones. There's some series that I won't do just because it's very, they're not really, I don't think, good as far as reputation of Elvis. And I'm not into that defending Elvis and what they put out. That's bullshit. So I try to do all the positive ones. Some will have, sad details, obviously. Like this had, towards the end a little bit. But June knew. I mean, that's the thing about it is she knew that as long as he was gonna go off and he was gonna be a star, she knew it wouldn't make it because they had both had total different goals of what they wanted to do. Oh, you're welcome, C-Cat. So we did this at midnight tonight, my time, Eastern Standard Time. We're going to do one at noon, so it'll do the reverse as far as the time frame. Don't know what day yet, but we're going to continue too with the book that we've been reviewing on the Colonel. It's a really good book. So about the Colonel, and it's we're at the stage where he's just getting ready to be introduced to Elvis, but we've gone from the point he lands at the dock in Tampa Bay till right now till he's promoting Eddie Arnold and all that. So it's interesting that we're going to do Dick Valenga's book after that because there's a mention between, they kind of reference each other. So Dick Valenga's book will get a little bit more into the history of Parker and in Holland. And you like Parker or you don't like Parker. It's really good to kind of really get an understanding. It does give you a different viewpoint of him, good or bad. It's not going to change a lot of people's view that he was a disgusting, foul person, but it also doesn't take away from the things that he did do to make Elvis who he was, and that there somewhere along the line, even though money and greed really affected Parker, there's no doubt in my mind that he cared and actually loved that guy with the kind of love that would come out of Parker, because as we talked about earlier today, the man just didn't seem to be able to exhibit any kind of emotion. Oh, thanks, Deb. Yeah, it landed right at about an hour, 45, 50 minutes, plus our chatter. So we've been online for an hour and 5 minutes. So we didn't really want to turn this into some of the marathons we got. We just wanted to do a watch party, and we're going to keep doing it again. Oh, you're welcome, Lori. Yeah, we're going to get some sleep. We gotta record inside the studio, today for Saturday. 2 more American Sound songs. Wearing That Love Down Look, You'll Think of Me, and we're going to do I Want You, I Need You, I Love You. Heather says she can do Tuesday into Wednesday for a midnight show. Yeah, we could schedule that. Yeah, we'll schedule that for a watch party. We're going to do it at different times. I don't have anything else. I know Cam's got to be exhausted. It's he's been basically got him up at 5:30 this morning his time, and here it's 1 a.m. for me. So I haven't really eaten anything today. So I'm going to eat a salad and then lay back and try to get some rest and some sleep. I've been feeling pretty good to pop out more of these. So don't forget about our Inside the Studio on Saturday at 2 and our live stream at 1. Memorial Day weekend here, so that'll either tell us whether people are going to watch or not. They may be out cooking and all that. But, whoever we have on, it's always fun. She-Cat, yeah, Colonel and Elvis were destined to meet. Everything and everyone is. Yeah. Oh, look at this. Look at this. Hello. Oh, you know what? Let me put you on the speaker here. Okay, there you go.
Thanks, Ollie.
How you doing?
All right, how is everybody?
Good. You still at work?
Yep, I'm building trucks right now.
Oh, are you?
My hands are moving. So
Yeah.
I was listening to your show tonight. That was a good one to do.
Yeah, I thought it was too. It kind of really related into what we went over on Sunday on this live stream.
Yeah, it sure did.
And tied in perfectly because we just finished off with June and actually the movie Love Me Tender. So
yeah, isn't that great though that you had that footage? They found it.
Unbelievable, yeah.
Yeah,
that's just
kind
great
of gives
footage.
us all an insight, and a peek into what was going on.
Yeah, that to be in color like that, it's just from 50s. That's you had to have the money to buy one of those video cameras back then.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
And they weren't small either. They were big old things like this,
Yeah, yeah. No, I'm not going to keep everybody too long. I just wanted to say hi, and I enjoyed tonight's watch party.
Oh, thanks, Olga. We appreciate it. We Cam and I are really enjoying this. We had kind of
it's fun.
Yeah. So our afternoon one today, we did some more on the book, but we kind of tried to have one of our regularly scheduled rants on somebody. So we took care of that to get some stuff off of our chest, and we're good and we're excited, and we were excited about tonight. But
I'm gonna watch that when I get off the phone with you, because I saw that you did an earlier one. I said, well, damn, I missed that one too.
Yeah, I've been trying to send the notifications to the WhatsApp group. So
yeah, I get them on YouTube when you
oh, okay, good.
What you're gonna do.
Good.
Yeah, they come through fine.
Okay,
so,
great.
Okay, guys. Well,
all right. Well,
it was a good show.
Thank you very much. Have a great night, and we will talk to you soon.
Yes, absolutely. Good
okay,
night, everybody.
All right, bye. Well, that was nice.
Welcome surprise.
Yeah, that's nice. I love having guys call in when you want to. So like I said, that's why I keep it at the top. We're kind of excited about being able to do that. Um, the live call-ins, and we're gonna do that when we get on the radio and start doing those shows there. We got so many things planned, but we talk about it. But once again, like I talked about earlier today, we're just a great. I think we got a great community, and my channel. I protect my channel. I put a lot of work and a lot of hard work in it. Cam has too, to have somebody try to destroy it because for whatever reason. But we think we're a positive side of Elvis. Don't want to deal with any of the negativity and the hate. It creeps up, and we're going to have to discuss it sometimes when we're reading books. When I get Priscilla's book and read it, it's going to be one of those conversations that chats with that day where you're going to get both sides of the fence, and we'll have to rein it in some. But I still think that stuff needs to be kind of discussed a little bit. Not going to change anything, but I think knowledge is always good, especially when it comes to Elvis. Heather, 6:10 here in the UK. Yeah, it is bright and early. Oh, that's right. You're 5 hours ahead. Wow, do not know that. Thank you, Deb. Purple Green. I get newsletters from the website Elvis Australia. I get one from someone. I think it's Elvis Australia. But anyway, we got. I got a lot of other documentaries. I got probably enough documentaries to do this twice a week for 2 or 3 years, and there's always ones I'll find out in them, and so I really want to do the searcher, but I don't think I'm going to be able to do that on the public format. I might have to try to create some kind of watch party that would be internalized, but I got lots of them, and I just got to check to make sure. And He Touched Me, that's the other one, a really great documentary, but a lot of gospel music, and it makes it useless if I cut out all the gospel music when you're talking about the gospel side of Elvis. So, guys, wow, we're still holding on. 12 people. I appreciate it. I got some names here that I kind of assumed we would probably get in here because of their time zone. So, 12 noon will be our next one. And then we'll alternate them 12, and we'll alternate the days. So we'll do the next midnight one when we do it on Tuesday into Wednesday. And I'll come up with a documentary for that. If you guys have any requests or need anything, just email me or leave it in the comments. And I think I don't have anything else for tonight, this morning. What you got, Cam? Anything?
No.
All right, guys. Once again, thanks for today. Thanks for tonight. Thanks for always. And y'all have a great Memorial Day weekend or a great day. Bye.
Thanks, guys.